You did not arrive here by accident. This is not a beautiful phrase. It is not an opening line meant to sound poetic. It is literally what is happening at this exact moment. And if you pause for 2 seconds, you will feel that it is true even before I explain why. Something is changing in you. Not tomorrow. Now. And that change did not start when you clicked on this video. It began earlier, at some moment you probably could not name. A restlessness. A feeling that the path you were following was no longer yours. A quiet voice, almost inaudible, telling you there was something you had not yet understood. And you searched. You tried. At some point you discovered the law of attraction. Maybe through a book, maybe through another video, maybe through someone who changed their life and made you curious about how. You began doing affirmations. You woke up early, looked in the mirror, repeated phrases with all the conviction you could gather. You wrote your dreams in a notebook. You built vision boards. You visualized. You asked the universe. Some things worked, or seemed to work for a while, and others simply did not arrive. They stayed suspended, like promises the universe made but did not fulfill. And then the worst thought of all appeared. Maybe this doesn't work for me. I know you are recognizing yourself in this right now. Not because I am guessing, but because this is the journey of almost everyone who makes it this far. The attempt, the enthusiasm, the plateau, the silent doubt, and then the search to understand what is missing. What is missing is not more effort. It is not more faith. It is not more clarity about what you want. It is not a different technique, a better meditation, or a more powerful affirmation. What is missing is the opposite of all of that. And I know that sounds paradoxical, maybe even frustrating. But it is exactly this paradox that will change everything for you if you stay here until the end. Because the transformation you are about to have is not a transformation of information. It is a transformation of state. It is not about learning something you do not know. It is about recognizing something you have always known, but were taught to ignore. You are not here to learn how to manifest better. You are here because you are ready to stop trying to manifest and start simply receiving. Quantum physics has a name for what is blocking you. Zen masters had another name. Sufi mystics called it something else, but they were all describing the same thing. And that thing is active inside you right now, operating like an invisible field that repels exactly what you most desire. I will show you what this field is, how it works, and how you dissolve it. Not with more force, but with a gesture most people would never have the courage to make. Leaving before the end would waste everything that brought you here. I'm not saying that to trap you. I'm saying it because what is coming only makes sense as a whole. Each part prepares the next. And if you were prepared for this moment, it makes sense to stay and receive it fully. There is something nobody talks about when it comes to manifestation. Not out of bad intention, but because it challenges everything that seems logical, everything that seems responsible, everything that seems safe. And that thing is this: the act of wanting too much is exactly what pushes away what you want. But here is what I have not explained yet, and what will only make sense when you understand the mechanism behind it. Before understanding what is changing in you, we need to look at what has always been stopping you. Let me describe something that will probably feel familiar. You found something you desire, a different reality, a relationship, abundance, a peace you do not yet have. And you did what everyone teaches. You focused on it. You thought about it. You visualized. You affirmed. You asked. And the more you did all of this, the clearer the distance became between where you are and where you want to be. That is the problem no one names directly. It is not lack of faith. It is not an energetic block that needs healing. It is not unresolved karma or an unhealed childhood wound. The problem is structurally simpler and deeper than any of those explanations. The problem is the frequency of wanting. When you want something intensely, with that urgency that tightens your chest, that rush to see it happen, that feeling that you need it in order to feel okay, you are operating in a very specific vibrational field. That field has a particular texture. It carries an implicit message to the universe, to your quantum field, to your own neurology. This is not here yet. I still don't have it. I am still lacking. And the field responds to the message, not the desire. You were taught that wanting clearly was the first step. That is not wrong. Clarity is necessary. What no one told you is that there are two types of wanting that look identical on the outside, but are opposite on the inside. There is the energy of wanting and the energy of receiving. The energy of wanting says, I need this to happen so I can be okay. The energy of receiving says, I am already okay and I am open for this to arrive. The first contracts, the second expands. And the difference between them is not in the words you use in your affirmations, it is in the state you carry while saying them. Imagine a seed you plant in the soil. Now imagine that every day you dig up the seed to check whether it is growing. Each time you check, you interrupt the process. Each time you dig, you signal to the soil, I do not trust that you are doing your job. And the soil, which is the field, responds to your distrust, not to your desire. Most people practicing manifestation are unknowingly digging up the seed every single day. There is a principle in quantum physics called decoherence, the moment when a quantum system collapses from potential into defined form. What physicists observed is that the act of observing changes what is observed, not as a metaphor, as a measurable reality. You are collapsing your possibilities by observing them with urgency, by measuring them with fear that they are not growing. This is not your fault. You were taught that if you do not monitor things closely, you lose them. That vigilance is responsibility, that relaxing is abandonment. That is wrong. Not in every area of life, but specifically in conscious manifestation. Anxious vigilance is the poison that dissolves the seed before it can germinate. And here is where most people stop listening, which is exactly where everything changes. There is a real mechanism behind this. I am not talking about a spiritual metaphor. I am talking about something you can feel in your own body once you learn to notice it. Your nervous system operates in two fundamental states. They are not the only states, but they are the ones that matter here. The first is the state of threat. In this state, your body produces a hormonal cocktail that narrows your perception field, accelerates your thoughts, and puts you into problem-solving mode. The second is the state of safety. In this state, your perception expands, your creativity blossoms, and neurologically you become more capable of perceiving opportunities that were previously invisible. Neuroscience calls this the window of tolerance. Eastern contemplative traditions call it presence. Quantum physics, when speaking of superposition, touches the same territory. A system in superposition holds multiple possibilities simultaneously, and it is precisely the absence of interference that keeps this potential alive. When you operate in the frequency of anxious wanting, you are in the first state, the threat state. Your nervous system is responding to the absence of what you desire as if it were danger. And in this state, you literally cannot see the bridges that lead to what you want. Not because they do not exist, because your perception field is too narrow to perceive them. This is not poetic, it is physiological. Detachment. And here I need you to understand this deeply, not as an idea but as a feeling. Detachment is not indifference. It is not pretending you do not want something. It is not convincing yourself it does not matter. It is something far more sophisticated and far more real than any of those substitutes. Detachment is the ability to want something completely, with full clarity and intention, without turning that desire into a condition for your peace. Think of a river flowing toward the ocean. The river does not stop at every curve and ask, am I getting there? Am I on the right path? What if I never arrive? The river flows. And it is precisely that flowing, without the resistance of constant questioning, that inevitably leads it to the sea. You are the river, and anxious wanting is the stone you keep stacking in your own riverbed. Take a deep breath now. Feel this in your body for a moment. Not as an idea, as a physical reality. Where do you feel the tension of wanting? In your chest? Your stomach? Your breath? Just observe. You do not need to change anything yet. When you are in the state of safety, the state of someone who has already received, not someone who is still waiting, your energetic field emits a different frequency. And that frequency resonates with what you desire, creating what researchers of heart coherence call synchronization between intention and reality. The practical consequences of this are enormous, but I will not give them yet, because there is an obstacle between you and this practice, and this obstacle is more subtle and more dangerous than everything I have described so far. And when you truly understand this, you realize there is an obstacle no one mentions. What blocks you is not what you think. Here is the fatal mistake most people make when trying to practice detachment. They try to detach. It sounds obvious. It sounds correct. But that very effort recreates the problem at another level. Because when you try to detach, when you force yourself not to want, when you monitor your thoughts to ensure you are not wanting too much, when you check your emotional frequency to make sure you are in the right state, you return to the same cycle. Except now the object of anxious vigilance is not the original desire anymore. It is detachment itself. Am I detached enough? Am I still needing too much? Why do I still feel urgency if I should be peaceful? This is the central paradox. And it is not an accident. It is the last guardian before the real breakthrough. There is a fundamental difference between forced action and inspired action. Forced action comes from fear. I must fix this now, or it will go wrong. Inspired action comes from a sense of natural movement. Something inside you moves not because you fear not having, but because you are aligned with what you desire. Forced action exhausts you. Inspired action energizes you even when it requires effort. When you try to force detachment, you are using forced action to create a state that only exists in the absence of force. It is like trying to relax your muscles by tightening them harder. And here is what nobody tells you about this. The obstacle is not urgency, not anxious wanting, not even the fear of not having. The real obstacle, the one operating in the deepest layers, is the belief that you must do something to deserve what you want. Think about that. Somewhere inside you there is a conviction that manifestation is a reward for spiritual performance. That if you do the right things the right way with the right frequency, the universe will reward you. And that belief, which appears humble, responsible, even spiritual, is what turns the quantum field of possibility into a test you feel you might fail. Your resistance is not your enemy. Your urgency is not weakness. Your difficulty letting go is not proof you are doing it wrong. It is the final test before expansion. Because the field, the real one, the one that responds to your intentions, is not waiting for you to deserve. It is waiting for you to believe you already are. And there is a very specific distinction between trying to detach and truly letting go that changes everything when you find it. The solution is not a technique. Let me repeat that. The solution is not a technique. It is a decision. A decision that seems simple, but for most people, is the hardest thing they have ever been invited to do. The decision is this: to choose to act as if what you desire were already real, not to manipulate the universe, but because that is the only posture that allows you to become the version of yourself capable of receiving it. This is not superficial law of attraction. This is real neuroplasticity. When you consistently act from a state, when you make decisions, move your body, direct attention like someone who already lives what they desire, your nervous system begins building new neural networks. You literally reconfigure your perception. And when perception changes, what you see as possible in the world changes with it. The difference between trying to detach and truly letting go is directional. Trying to detach means looking at the desire and trying not to look. Truly letting go means looking so fully at the present, what exists now, what is alive now, what is real now, that the future stops feeling urgent. You do not release the desire. You stop living in the future where it has not yet arrived. And that changes everything. Everything that is yours is already on its way.